Thank you very much. Happy Phagwah, happy Holi. Good morning to all my fellow celebrants here. The High Commissioner was very kind and very detailed in telling us the very many stories associated with Phagwah and Holi in India, which has passed down across countries where the diaspora have taken up residence. And many of those stories would teach us such incredibly good lessons if we were to pay attention, that I would recommend each person goes home and internalizes what some of those stories are. This morning, I'd like to touch on two of those stories. One, the overcoming of evil by good, and two, the promise of spring. I'm not going to give you the details that High Commissioner gave us, but the story of Phagwah, the story of Holi, was about a king who had 5 boons or 5 powers. Essentially, they disallowed him from, or they allowed him not to die, not to be killed. He couldn't be killed inside or outside, at daytime or nighttime, by human or by animal. And he had a son, and his son was Prahalad. And Prahalad refused the king's instructions, because of course the king with these powers became autocratic and became ever powerful and became someone that would hand down unkind and ungenerous and rules that were and effectively became bad government rules. And his son Prahalad refused to follow him, worship him, and insisted that he was going to continue to worship his god Krishna, and that he would continue to follow Krishna because for him Krishna represented goodness and prosperity and success and kindness. And the king, the evil ruler, tried many ways to get Prahalad removed, to get him killed even, and he was unsuccessful. And Prahalad refused to allow his resolve to be interfered with, to follow goodness and light. But one night, the king's evil sister, Holika, who couldn't apparently perish by fire, put Prahalad in her lap and took him onto a pyre, and she cloaked herself with a fireproof shield. And she thought she would kill Prahalad, and that didn't happen because somehow or the other, because goodness always overcomes evil, somehow or the other the cloak went to Prahalad and he was saved and she perished. And that's the story of Holika. All across Guyana last night, people were burning Holika, burning pyres that represented Holika. And so we saw there how Prahalad, by insisting to follow good will always prevail over evil, he prevailed. And then at the same time, simultaneously, the king, the evil king, was killed. He perished by someone who smartly overcame the 5 boons. He didn't kill him at daylight or at evening. He killed him at dusk. He turned himself into half man and half animal, so he wasn't killed by a man or an animal. He killed him on his doorstep, so it wasn't inside or outside. And that story tells us that in the pursuit of good, there are always ways that we can overcome evil. In the pursuit of good, there are always ways that we can overcome evil. And I'd like to think that the world today, and certainly in Guyana, we've evolved from any Holika putting any Prahalad in their lap to represent evil. We've gone past that. I would like to believe we've gone past that. I'd like to believe too that we have evolved from many other things that I'd hoped we'd evolve from, that my children and I would never experience. That is yet to be seen. But now we see evil in many different ways, and sometimes we don't name it evil. Not sending your children to school is an evil that we need to overcome. Not taking elderly people onto a public bus is an evil that we need to overcome. Not providing markets for rice farmers so that their produce can be sold and they could get the benefit of that is an evil that we need to overcome. Removing jobs or taking away jobs from people who have no other means of livelihood is an evil that we need to overcome. Following laws that have been in our books for many years, not following those laws to the detriment of our people is an evil that we need to overcome. And as we saw in the story, there are always means to overcome evil once there are people with the will to do that. Once there are people with the will to do that. And I believe, my friends, that Guyanese across this land, regardless of political affiliation or color, class, social status, have learned that story so well, not only from the story of Phagwah that we're taught from primary school, but in their own lives, in the experiences they undergo every day in their own lives. And I believe that evil always will be overcome by good, that badness will be overcome by goodness, that unlawful behavior will always be overcome by lawful behavior. And the second story I wanted to point out, like I said, I wasn't going to give you all of High Commissioner's very many stories, is the story of spring. We in Guyana don't celebrate spring because of where we are relative to the equator. But the countries that do, spring is that period that is between the dark, dreary, cold days of winter and the beautiful, sunshiny days of summer. So spring represents this bud, this beautiful thing to be, to come, where people could celebrate nature, a sunny, bright, sunshiny day. And spring is that promise, or provides for us that promise of a bud blossoming into a beautiful flower. Guyana has gone past the stage of being a bud. We have gone past the stage of being a bud, but there are beautiful, exciting things in store for us as a country. And I say, let's get together to make sure we prepare ourselves in this spring to enjoy the beautiful sunshiny summer that is on our way, that is in our future in this dear land of ours. This morning, I wish for you a happy Phagwah, a happy Holi, that these festival of colors will see us overcoming all the evil that each of us lives in our individual lives, and all the evil that we face as a nation. And I wish for you the bright, sunshiny days that are ahead of us. I thank you, and God bless you all. God bless our beautiful country, Guyana.